Hello and welcome to MS Tech Hub. This is the continuation of validation series. In this video, we are going to discuss about the different ways to apply the validation in Jquery. The first way we can apply the validation by using the validate function itself. And the second way we can use the rules function of the validate Jquery. And third and final way we can apply the validation by using the attributes, the given attributes, the data rule required attributes or the data message required attribute. You can change your validation, like I am using the required, instead you can use your validation here. And finally we will discuss about the priority of the code. If we define all of three rules, which will override which one? Let's flip to Visual Studio. For this, for the different phase of validation, we can first check this validate function and pass the JSON in it. Throughout this validation series, we are using this way only. Now let's remove this validation. For this, we are only using the required validation. So let's use this and change the message for the required validation. Email is required. Let's save the changes, reload the browser. When we submit the form, the validation is working proper. So let's check the second way of validation. Remove this. So we have removed the validate JSON, and now we are going to use the rules. For this, we are going to use the ID of the field. Now we have to add the validation. Which validation? The required validation. The required validation is equal to true, and messages is equal to required, and we have to pass the validation. Email is required. So we have defined the rules over here. Let's save the changes, reload the page. The validation is not working. Let's check why. Something is missing, so let's verify. So we have missed the JSON part. Let's save the changes, reload the page. The validation is working as expected. Now let's comment the second way of validation. Let's save the changes and use the attribute validation, the data dash rule dash required equal to true, and we have to define data dash msg dash required is equal to email is required. Let's save the changes. Make sure you are even still using the validate method. It is required for all three ways. So let's save the changes, reload the page. When we submit the form, so the validation is working as expected. So we have seen all three ways that we can apply the validation. Now let's apply all three. We have applied the true validation. Now we have to apply the third one. So what we are going to check now, we are going to check the priority now. The priority, if we apply all three validation method, which validate method will override the previous one. Rules. So we have to define the email field, and we have to define the required. So this way we have defined the method. Save the changes. Let's also add the messages section. Let's move little bit. Messages for email required let's make a copy of this and define the messages. Now in this case, what we are going to do, we are defining email is required. We can say it's a 1, right? So by which we can check that this is 1 and this is 2. Locations, we are categorize the locations so that we can understand that which locations the data is or the message is coming. So it is the third one. Let's save the changes, reload the page. When we submit the form, the validation is working from second location. So let's check which is the second location. The second location is this one. So we can say this is the priority one, means it will override all the previous validations, right? When we comment this one, save the changes, reload the page, submit the form. Now it is saying from one location. So the one location is this one. So we can say the second priority of this. So this has been override the attribute validation, right? So now we completely understand the priority. So if we remove this validation, so the validation will come from the location third. So it is saying email is required from third location. So the third location is the attribute. Now let's arrange the order of this priority. So we have to move the rules at one priority, and the validation should be at second priority, and the attribute validation should be remain at third location. So now it is the correct priority that we are having the rules at first priority and the validate method at second priority, and the attribute validation has on third priority. That's it in this video. Thanks for watching.